Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the new build, which is Frozen Legion plus Shockwave via Cyclone and on a Chieftain. Now, this new skill looked really interesting to me because it separates the scaling of attack speed to the scaling of your damage in other forms, mostly CDR. The way this skill works is it has a default cooldown of a base 0.8 seconds and it can store up to 6 charges. This can be modified with a helmet enchant to go up to +2 with a +2 statues, and instead of 6 guys appearing, they'll be up to 8. And basically how it works is you can move around all you want, and then once this gets full charged, you press it and you're hitting with 6 basically sweeps at the same time. So ultimately you hit with a really big hit if you wait for it to charge. And so the way I'm using this character is I'm building into CDR to basically make this charge up faster so I can more often proc the big hit of a bunch of damage. And then on top of that, I'm also scaling into Shockwave, another skill that is also CDR related, not attack speed related. The amount of times this can pop off is based on cooldown, not based on the attack speed. So the idea is we have a really slow weapon. Marohi Erqi hits like a truck, 800, 1200 damage. There isn't a bigger flat hit in the game as far as I know, but it has a mega slow attack speed. But that mega slow attack speed doesn't matter to us because we are just casting. It's a spell. We cast it. The attack speed doesn't change it. It changes how fast they swing out, but ultimately it isn't really a issue in terms of does the damage get dealt? Yes, it gets dealt, and we get to move around even. We're not locked into that animation. So it doesn't have the danger of standing still for that long. It's more of a we cast and then we move. Granted, my cast speed's terrible right now. I could invest in a little cast speed and we could fix that up. Also, on this character, we have the Cyclone proc, which is basically just a little tap, and that will cause a shockwave to hit, which is a big AoE, and that's what we use for clearing mostly. We kind of just phase run around, frost blink around, and then boom, one tap, proc the shockwave, and that's how we're basically clearing if you saw from the initial showcase. This character can't really use Leap Slam because Leap Slam gets slowed down by the Marohi Erqi. That's the one big downside. We can't use a movement skill, but outside of that, we're mostly just mowing through monsters and it's still fine. Not the fastest clear speed, but clear speed that feels good enough that I don't really mind it, and frankly I'm having a good time doing it. Also, with this character, we're rolling Chieftain. Right now it's super scuffed. Eventually I'm going to full convert to fire to take advantage. Right now I have just the regular Phys is cold. Eventually I'm going to get Avatar of Fire, probably do some cold to fire shenanigans, stuff like that, but I just haven't really set up the character. I just leveled it today and we're just operational. This character so far has been quite fun to play and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. And we've even been able to take down my first Sanctum, which I felt pretty happy about. That was really exciting for me to have a character that I couldn't really get past like the first few rooms in Sanctum to a character that could do an entire full run all the way to the end. And that was pretty exciting, and I'm excited to dig more into that mechanic because the way this character works is, and this was my idea behind it, is Sanctum has a lot of like basically guards that have they're a decent chunky HP pool, and my thought process is I'll walk in, I'll do this, one tap a guard, and then I'll run away. And I'll walk in and I'll one tap a guard and I'll run away. Because Sanctum mechanics, from what I can tell, seem a lot of basically you have to dodge around, move around, you have to stay pretty mobile. And this allows us to have a melee build, technically, while also having the mobility of something like more like a totem or a dot build playstyle, because we just walk in, we cast this, one hit the enemy, and then we keep running around type of thing. The idea is we're gonna have a really big one hit shot, and then we can still stay really mobile with the character. That's the way we're going with it. And I really like the Chieftain defensive layers of endurance charges along with Tassilio for Phys taken as. I think it works really well. Eventually, if I can get enough Phys taken as and enough base armor, I might opt to drop Determination for Hatred to go for more damage, stuff like that. But right now, it's just in the initial stages. We're just kind of going with it as it is right now. I did some basic gear where I got just a couple random fractures, bought for basically a couple C each, bought a 6-link for 40 C, just threw a couple essences at it. This isn't like high-end gear. This is roughly around the investment of like 300 chaos in rare gear plus the Marohi Erqi, which would have been 2 divines if I bought just a random roll, but there was a almost perfect roll for 3 divines, so I went ahead and spent a little bit extra on that because frankly seeing 800 to 1200 just it looks cool. So I was pretty excited about that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a showcase. I have a tier 11 here. I'm a level 82 character. We just did our Uber Lab not too long ago, and this will give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of mapping gameplay, as well as, you know, you saw the showcase I did just before that with the T10 Coves map I did. So this is what it looks like. You pretty much just phase run around, one tap to proc shockwave. If it doesn't one-shot the pack, then if you have a tankier pack, then you proc Frozen Legion is basically what it is. I just run around a little bit. Don't one-shot, then go to Frozen Legion, because the Frozen Legion hits hard. Right now, my shockwave is just on a 5-link, and it's not really a good 5-link. I'm going to fix it and make it better, but for right now, for the most part, it's been one-shotting most packs. Obviously, we go into Delirium, it's probably not going to one-shot the packs quite as well, but it still does pretty good to just do basically the real quick proc of shockwave, and then if I see something tankier, like something that looks like a tanky rare, that's when I proc Frozen Legion. That's like the concept behind it, at least. And so far, it has been quite a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, just been playing it all today up until this point now, and I'm ready to start going to sleep, basically. So I wanted to give this showcase, talking about the character, how it works. The idea is just pretty simple. It's really about scaling the CDR, because the attack speed, if we're basically autonomous of that, we don't have to manually do the animation, then you can scale around that, and Marohi Erqi starts to become a good weapon and not just a weapon that sticks you to the ground, so to speak. And eventually, another thing we're going to add into, I think I'll probably swap Enduring Cry for, I think, Battle Mage's Cry. I'm thinking I'm going to go Dual Curse, Elemental Weakness, Flammability, I think is probably what I'll do. Because right now we have like no pen in the build, and that'll be a massive damage increase. Not to mention swapping over to solely fire and taking advantage of the cover enemies in Ash. All those sorts of things will add up and be pretty good for us. We're gonna make some massive improvements over the next few days. We'll see how it goes. I'd like to get it to the point where we're one-shotting, like, you know, maybe Guardians. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know if we'll get there, but it would be interesting if we do. Maybe I'll try out the +2 statue enchant, see if that's fun to play with. We lose a lot of CDR to do that, so I'm not sure I really want to do that, but I might be tempted to try it just because it gives us a larger chance for the one-shot potential. It does brick our CDR to do that, but could be fun to try it out regardless. All right, so let's get to the end of this map here. Oh, and we're losing our Delirium. Maybe there's fog on the next floor. There's not. Okay, so I kind of bricked that a little bit, but hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to look for. And basically, your attacks overlap. You see how we like basically two-hat that guy? He actually only got hit by some of the attacks because he dodged out of the way. But the idea is, with AoE, you can see they all overlap on this area. Initially, when you're using this skill and you don't have any AoE investment, you have to be like perfectly on top of the boss. But now that our character has AoE here, we have AoE here, we have AoE on these nodes, we have AoE on these nodes. Now we actually have a pretty good amount of AoE, which means consistently most of the guys are going to hit the boss if you're around where the boss is, which ends up feeling pretty good. This is Frozen Legion. I think the skill's really cool. I know no one's really playing it right now, but I've enjoyed it so far. I'm not going to say play the build, because I got to learn from Valvedovgar. It did go well. I want to take this all the way to endgame bosses and see, hey, if we're actually one-shotting Conquerors, that's something I can recommend. If we're not one-shotting Conquerors, if it starts to feel bad, if it starts to not be a good build, then, you know, I want to approach this with a little bit more hesitancy, a little bit more caution, but I've just had a lot of fun playing this character today, and I'm really glad I did the reroll, because this is giving me basically fresh enjoyment outside of the pain I felt towards the Venom Gyre character and the chest I couldn't manage to link, really. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video update on our new character, which is Frozen Legion Chieftain / Shockwave Cyclone. Thank you for watching. As always, take care, Exiles.